everybody, it's your boy Gabriel, and today we're going to be going over a review of the Wright ZTS. Alright guys, so just a quick disclaimer, I only was able to demo the Wright ZTS once at the Equipment Expo and then again here at one of my properties for about an hour. So I'm just going to give you my overall opinion just on that hour. So this is not a fully comprehensive view. I have not purchased the ZTS, but I did get a chance to see how it works, see how it runs on yards, and fit it in to where I think it would go for somebody who would want to buy it, and also would I personally buy it in my fleet. Also, another thing, I'm not going to be comparing it one to any stand-on unit because I am definitely biased on whether I like stand-on versus sit-downs, but we can get into that on a different day. But this is just going to be comparing it to one other zero turns that I've ridden on, and also the lineup of Wright's zero turns, which is the ZTS, ZXL, and ZXT. All right, it's Sunday fun day, so I'm out here grinding all sorts of stuff. So putting on some shades, get the sun out of my eye. Anyway, so riding on the ZTS, the thing is very smooth. So their new suspension system that they have on that unit is great. It is the lowest tier Z system that they have. It's the lowest tier sit-down mower for Wright mowers in general. Other good things about the mower, it's got a built-in installed light kit, which is unlike any other mower on Wright's platform. So you're automatically gonna get a light kit, which is pretty cool. It can be installed with a pull behind tow kit, so you can pull behind an aerator, pull behind anything that you need. Like I mentioned in my overview, is the fact that when you pull the manifolds, or whatever you call those, the steering, you can actually control it with one hand because of how close they sit. Some mowers sit too far apart and you're trying to maneuver it. Not that you're really mowing that much with one hand on a stand or sit down mower. It is something to note. Got some truck going by. Anyway, comparing it to other sit down mowers on the market, still got that Wright smoothness, the Wright build, still a solid condensed build, and it's still got a great suspension just like the ZXL and the ZXT. Now, with all that being said, the only wear and tear that I saw on the mower was actually up front on the springs. I think they sit a little too tightly on where they're mounted to, so there was some wear on the paint right where the springs are at for the front suspension. So it might be something to look into, either expanding that frame so they're not constantly creating friction in between the metal piston rod and the spring. So there's just a little bit of wear there. Nothing else was broken. The unit I think had 60 hours on it, so everything was running good there. Maintenance is so easy on this machine. I cannot express that enough. I have a Standard X, which is very compact, which is great, but the maintenance on the thing is kind of hard to get oil wrenches in there or be able to change the spark plugs out, or all that kind of stuff becomes tedious and difficult. This one's easy with the built-in hydraulics oil. You can just get to it and you probably have to use a siphon with this unit. And then the spark plugs are all placed great for access, and the oil filter and the air filter are all placed greatly, so there's no hassle when it comes to maintenance. You're not going to be struggling at all with the ZTS. Now to get into whether I'd buy this unit or not. Right now there is a Kawasaki rebate on some of the older model units for the ZXL, which means that it's only a $1,500 difference between the ZXL and the ZTS. Now this mower already had a lot to live up to because the ZXL is by far my favorite zero turn ride-on mower. So smooth, very touchy on the controls, which I love because my first mower was my X, so I've grown used to having really sensitive controls. So I mean, it's go and stop when it comes to those units. So I love that so much about the ZXL. I love the power and the speed to the ZXL that the ZTS just doesn't have. When I was using it, I really wanted to have more power, especially coming in the 52 or the 60-inch deck. Now, where I think the market could pull more to the ZTS, just like it does for the Standard X, which I'm really directly comparing it to the stand-on Standard X because are very similar to those two units. And because when I bought my Standard X, I bought it specifically because it's one of the only mowers that has a 48-inch deck, with the biggest engine size, I think the ZTS would definitely be improved by offering a 48-inch style deck. This means that I could get into more backyards than the ZXL or the ZXT, only coming in 52 and 60-inch decks. And I think the ZXT comes in 72. But anyway, comes in a more compact style deck so I can get into more of my backyards, especially if I'm buying just one mower. Now, if I'm buying two, I might be able to afford to buy a 36 and a 52, which then that would defeat the purpose of buying the ZTS altogether, because I'd probably buy a ZXL anyway. But if I could get a 48-inch deck, I think that's where the ZTS would shine. It would have enough power to get through some smaller yards, and it would give you more compactness so where you're not having to push more yards. So I think that is where it would shine more and what I'm wanting it to fit into the lineup, because you have the ZTS being the lower tier model, which means it will have less power. It also is cheaper. The ZXL on normal price is about $3,000 more expensive than the ZTS. So that means it would be worth it in this instance, but there is a rebate. So if you're wanting to pick up a zero turn, I recommend you do it as soon as possible while there's a rebate, because that only means that there's a $1,500 difference. Now, with either of those prices, I definitely think with right now the ZTS having a 52 and a 60 and the ZXL having the same deck sizes really, that the ZXL definitely is the worthy upgrade. Now, not saying that there are budgets that you have to keep in mind. If you're only able to spend the money on a ZTS, go ahead and pick it up. It's going to definitely serve you well on the commercial capacity. But if you have the money, I definitely recommend you go ahead and upgrade and buy the ZXL. Now, if the ZTS, like I said, were to come in a 48-inch style and you're only able to buy one mower, you only can afford one mower like I did when I first started my business, the ZTS would definitely have a place in that style market. Now, being that it's a 52 or 60, I definitely would lean you more towards buying the ZXL and or the ZXT if you had the money to upgrade. But anyway, that's kind of my full overarching review. Not a bad mower whatsoever. You're definitely, if you buy it, you're going to be very happy with your purchase. I'm still waiting for the next couple years to see what ends up being wrong, because this is the first year lineup of this mower. And in my opinion, I try to steer away from any new models for the first couple years just to see how it tests out. Goodness, this bumblebee wants to eat me. Ooh, shoot, bumblebee. Anyway, I try to stay away from first year models to see what the kinks are gonna be. That has not been tested with the ZTS quite yet, so I don't know if there's anything with the redesigns that might lead to breakdowns or stuff like that, but I trust in the fact that Wright mowers will handle those breakdowns as they come and be able to fix them in the next couple years models. So anyway, if you like that review, if you like to see any other content regarding the ZTS or have any questions about it, leave it down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please share, subscribe, and stay safe, stay tuned, stay unbroken.